Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Story number 1. Human Stereotypes, written by averagecakeenjoyer. Chris had finally made it onto the ship. The mind-numbing mountain of paperwork that he had to fill out before boarding now long behind him. After a brisk and slightly confusing walk through the ship's corridors, he'd finally found the way to his shared room. The door sliding open, he stepped into the room, dropping his luggage on the floor with a heavy thud as he all but leapt into his bed, burying his face deep into a pillow as he let out a relieved sigh. Letting a few moments pass so that he could savor the moment, Chris sat back up, putting his luggage onto his bed. But as he was beginning to unpack, he was interrupted by the sound of the doors opening behind him. As he turned around to face the door, he and what seemed like a large rhino made eye contact. "Hi." A series of grunts and snorts replied back to Chris, the rhino tilting his head when you saw the confused look at his face, tapping the small box on his neck a few times. The rhino cleared his voice and tried again. "Hello, human. Who may you be?" My name's Chris. You?" I beg your pardon. The two looked at each other in an uneasy silence before the rhino broke out in a fit of laughter. After a minute of boisterous laughing, managed to regain his composure as he wiped a single tear from his eyes. "My apologies. Some say my sense of humor needs work. And don't worry about the name. You can just call me Cal. It's what everyone else does." Chris sighed in relief at Cal's words. "Had me for a moment. Well, it's nice to meet you, Cal. You called me in the middle of unpacking." "Unpacking? Oh! You must be one of the new hires." "Yeah, that's me. I'm surprised I got hired so quickly, I won't lie." "Of course they'd hire you. You seem like a fine security officer." "What? I'm here as a chef." "Surely you jest. You're a human after all." Cal walked forwards and grabbed a large glove on top of one of Chris's duffel bags. "You even brought your own warrior gauntlets." That's not exactly a gauntlet. That's a baseball glove. One my dad used to own." Cal's brow creased in concentration as he attempted to pronounce what Chris said. "Baseball? This name of one of your warrior clans, yes?" Chris's palm met his face. Definitely not. It's one of our sports, and we just use that to catch balls. Or else we might end up getting hurt if we don't." Giving the glove one last look, he placed it back down as he picked up a small vial. "And this?" "That's just some hot sauce from my planet. I didn't expect to find any good sauces hot enough out here anytime soon." Cal stared at the back of the bottle intently before throwing it back at Chris haphazardly. "This contains capsaicin. This hot sauce of yours is a chemical weapon." No. It's just a food additive. My species uses it to give our food some extra spices, but I guess that explains all the paperwork I had to fill out," Chris explained. You ingest this? Even the tiniest amount of that is enough to send most of us on the ship to a med bay. And you've got a whole bottle of it." "So, I shouldn't bring this to the mess hall?" Just don't pull it out in front of the others and you'll be probably fine, he said, sighing. "Probably." "Right, gotcha." Cal squeezed himself past Chris to get to his locker, opening it and grabbing a small cylinder from it. "Well then, Chef, I'll be getting out of your way since I only dropped by to grab that info tube. If you need me for any reason, I'll be in Section 4B, but in any case, I'm your new roommate as well." Then I guess I'll see you soon. A pleasure meeting you." "You as well, human. Take care," Cal said as he walked out the room, the door sliding shut behind him. Well, that was interesting, to say the least. Wonder what food they've got here. Chris couldn't even finish his thought before Cal barged through the door again, seeming a bit out of breath. Human Chris, I couldn't believe without asking so prim a question for me. Will you?" No problem. Shoot." "What? In the hard case?" he said, and pointed a claw. Seeing what Cal pointed to, Chris turned and clicked the latches of the case, opening it as he swung the lid up, revealing a rifle protected by foam. "Ah, a slug thrower! I knew you were lying when you said that you were a chef! You can't fool me twice!" I mean, I guess it's a slug thrower, in a way, but it's just my old airsoft rifle. Most of us use it for recreation, and it shoots small plastic pellets, so it shouldn't be lethal. At least, I hope so. Hey, airsoft! So it is not your service weapon? No, it isn't, he said, with a shake of his head. Ha! How hard does it hit? In general, airsoft guns shoot anywhere between 0.5 and 2.5 joules normally, depending on how heavy your pellet is, though mine is on the higher end of that. 2.5 joules? You'll injure, or, even worse, kill more than a few of us on board with that, Cal said, in shock, his translator finally catching up to Chris. Wait! How in the seven hells did you manage to get that on board if you're seriously not a security officer? I mean, I showed the people at the port my paperwork for the rifle, and they just kind of looked me up and down and let me through. I guess they thought I was security too? He said, embarrassed. Cal gave Chris a calculating look before shaking his head disapprovingly. I should hide this, shouldn't I? Yes, yes, you should. End of story. Story number 2. They Wanted Our Garbage, written by Paragon Nostus. They wanted our garbage. Humans are fairly unremarkable, being limited to their tiny solar system at the edge of the transgalactic stage. They are a tenacious bunch. They built everything sturdy and utilitarian. Their brick-shaped ships still burned chemical fuels, and they had hundreds of backups for simple systems. So inefficient. However, they were so behind the technological development of the rest of civilized space that they might as well be monkeys throwing space rocks. But one day, they came to us with an interesting offer. We'll buy your garbage. This concept caught the Teldasso species by surprise. We never considered the sale of our garbage. Each family unit recycled everything they used. Nearly everything that was built from recycled materials. The concept that we could just dump our trash on someone else was utterly foreign to us, especially since the humans offered to pay us for it. There was no reason to refuse, so we didn't. Soon we became fairly wealthy as garbage became a huge industry for us, and humans were more than amendable trading partners. After 6 decades, we got wind that they were buying garbage from 18 different species with similar deals. We were not pleased, to say the least. Unhappy that we no longer had a monopoly over the humans' garbage industry, I was sent as an envoy of my species' displeasure, and what I saw shocked me. What was once a pathetic fleet protecting a handful of planets became several armadas patrolling every inch of Terran space. Moons were giant recycling plants and refineries. Orbital siphoning stations littered the orbits of every gas giant in the system. They had solar power plants orbiting the yellow star like our own, but it looks as if they changed the designs to be more octagonal so that they could dock together. They used garbage cannons to fire metal at the second planet in their system, using its natural heat to melt any materials into their component parts. They used mighty orbital elevators to heft the refined results into space to be distributed in quite possibly the largest transportation system that I have ever seen. Their ships had somehow assimilated not only our technology, but those of both of our allies and enemies. I saw Sephoilreltian, ablative heavy armor, energy shield emitters, and the fallen Dacan Empire. and our own magnetic molten slug lancers. Even composite metals whose manufacturing methods were planetary secrets were used in construction of frames and keels of these Terran ships. Our human escort could have been classified as a cruiser in her own armada, but the humans corrected me and explained that it was a role as a destroyer, a terrifying name for a terrifying class of ship. My meeting of the human trade ambassador went strangely. He thanked me for my surprise visit into human space. I demanded he trade solely with us, and he laughed. He told me words that I will never forget. We no longer need your trash. End of story.
I just quickly want to thank the Tier 5 patrons and channel members: Alithia Barkey, Ken Maxwell, Caspar Arnholtz, Albarden Guster, Arcadian, Lord Azrakal, and Joachim Backer.